Cybercrime is a real risk for companies big and small. And even with all of these stories of cybercrime out there, too many small businesses are not updating their security policies and tools. Do not start thinking about this once it's too late. I cannot stress that enough. It doesn't have to take a lot of money. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you have to take this seriously. Scott Schober is the president and CEO of Berkeley Varitronics Systems, a company that designs and manufactures security products. And Sean Karen is a director at West Monroe Partners Technology, Infrastructure, and Operations Practice based in Chicago. They're here to share some security measures that you must take to keep your business safe. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Scott, let's start with you. I mean, I think for a lot of people, they think, I'm just not getting around to this because I'm overwhelmed by it. It's going to cost too much money. It's going to cost too much, take too much time. What can somebody do?
Yeah, good point. A lot of times just best practices, sharing within small businesses what the risks are, where the vulnerabilities are. Certainly it's important that all organizations back up their data on a regular basis, if not daily, at least weekly, in case they're hacked, as far as a ransomware attack where it locks up all your critical information and you're at ransom. So that's critical. But best practices even to avoid phishing attacks where there's an attachment inside of an email, alerting employees not to click on that because that could then download malware and cause all kinds of havoc.
Yeah, so what do you do? What kind of advice do you give to people to talk about phishing scams, for instance? How often do you bring it up with your employees? What examples do you give them?
Yeah, all the time, and a lot of times you have to give the example if it looks convincing, it looks real, and that's most of the time what these guys are doing. They have advanced toolkits, the cyber criminals, to make it look convincing, like it's from your bank or something like that. I tell them if there's any ounce of suspicion, do not click on the attachment. Rather go directly to the URL, the website of your bank or whatever else you might be checking.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you could say to your employees, look, you don't want to be the one who's responsible.
Exactly,
For,
good point.
For cybercrime in our company, right? To just get them to remember it. Sean, what are some of the things that you see people fail to do, you know, small businesses that get attacked?
I think the first thing to consider with small business is understanding that the amount of money that they spend to protect their organisation is a lot less than the big players are. However, today there's a lot more access to tools through cloud computing and things like that that they can access and deploy to protect the environment in the beginning. So looking at anti-malware and anti-spamware filtering for their email, so to protect what Scott mentioned around those phishing attacks. To look at the backups, you can back up now to the cloud and have all of your data in a secure environment without having to spend the investment that you would have had to spend years ago.
But one other thing I should point out, one of the most important things, and again, most neglected, is strong passwords. And I say this again and again every single day. A 6-character password doesn't cut it. You got to have at least 15 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers with symbols, and it shouldn't be a common word in the dictionary or your wife's name or your pet's name or anything else. It's got to be obscure, something you can't remember, but you got to write it down in a secure place. Then you minimize the chance that you're the next victim to get hacked. Very important.
And Sean, also, you shouldn't have the same password for more than one site.
That's correct. I think the big mistake that a lot of people do is try to reutilize their passwords across different technologies, especially sharing those passwords between their business environment and their home environment. And that's really where the challenge is.
Right. Somebody told me a really good idea, which is create a sentence in your mind, right?
Sentences are a great idea. Also using things like the last book you read or the last movie that you watched. Something along those lines that is easy enough for you to remember at the moment, but also provides you with the ability to add some of those special characters in. So you mentioned the @ symbol for an a 1 for an I, things like that, that allow you to make it more of a difficult sentence for someone to guess using tools, but also something you can remember easily without having to write it down or to store it somewhere else.
Okay, and Scott, I want to leave us with one last point, which is how often should you be doing an audit on your security systems and processes?
Well, for small businesses, this is really something they should be doing on a quarterly basis at minimum. Depending upon the nature of your business, if it's financials or other things like that, where it's even more sensitive data, you probably want to do it more often, at least on a monthly basis. And it's nothing wrong with having an outside company even come in periodically to do a vulnerability test or penetration test to test how secure are your computer networks.
All right.